As someone who has played both Valorant and Counter-Strike, and as someone who pays attention to both communities, this is a discussion, but oftentimes just an argument that I see a lot. Which of the two games are better? For anyone who does not know what these two games are or what the history is here, let me go over it really quickly, and then let's go over this argument. Counter-Strike originally released in 1999 as a mod for Half-Life, and the two original developers as well as the intellectual property of the title were acquired by Valve, the popular software and hardware company that everyone knows, who created Half-Life, Steam, other stuff, and continues to own Counter-Strike to this day. Over the years, there have been many different versions of the game, including completely new releases of the game in the same series, the most recent of which was Counter-Strike Global Offensive, with the next game, titled Counter-Strike 2, releasing later this summer. The games have completely changed and evolved over the years with each release, but for the most part, they are the same game at its core. And to simplify things in this video, I'm just going to refer to everything Counter-Strike as Counter-Strike. Riot Games, who were previously only really known for being the creators of League of Legends, announced a variety of new projects in 2019, one of which was codenamed Project A, that was later announced to be Valorant, and Valorant was officially released in June of 2020. The game is Riot's take on a tactical first-person shooter, which Counter-Strike was previously the most popular game in the genre. And with Valorant being really similar to Counter-Strike, there was a lot of early controversy surrounding the announcement and release of Valorant. At least controversy in some parts of the Counter-Strike community, as some people hold the opinion that Counter-Strike should be the only game that is similar to it, and any game released in the same genre that holds similarities to Counter-Strike is just blatantly copying the game. But of course, while Valorant is similar to Counter-Strike, the two games are completely different, with Valorant being a unique take on the genre, just as Counter-Strike is its own take on the genre. While the two games are similar, the two games play in very different ways. Valorant is also a hero shooter, while Counter-Strike is not. Maps are designed in fundamentally different ways. Both games have similar skill ceilings, but Valorant is generally considered to have a lower skill floor, which allows more casual and first-time players to enjoy the game. Movement is very different between the two games, gunplay is different, and there are many other differences. If you've been watching this video, you can probably tell the game is different, and if you play both games, you can tell that the game is different. But with that said, if you have been watching this video, you can tell the games are similar, and if you play both games, you can tell that the games are similar. With the similarity that is present between both games cater to a certain group of people who enjoy games like this. Generally slow-paced, strategic, tactical shooters that require teamwork and take place on maps where you and 4 other people are fighting against 5 other people to win rounds and eventually the match. Counter-Strike and Valorant are not the only two games like this. Yet with the differences between the two games, that means that people will inevitably prefer one game over the other. And people's preferences over this game can range in a variety of different ways. There are some people who genuinely like both games a lot, but maybe some people prefer one or the other for a variety of reasons, but still love playing the other. Some people may love one game, but tolerate the other and really only play it if friends are playing it. And then some people may like one game, but not like the other whatsoever. And then finally, some people may hold such a fiery passion towards one game that they vehemently hate the other game. Hate everyone who plays the other game and lets their opinion be heard everywhere. And that last demographic is the core idea that this video is about. I want to say straight off the bat, and the following thought is basically the core takeaway behind the rest of this video. People can enjoy whatever game they want. Some people like Counter-Strike, some people like Valorant, some people like both or neither. All those opinions are okay. You can like one game while not liking the other. You don't have to like the other. Personally, I enjoy both games. However, I do have a strong preference towards one game, Valorant. But just because I love Valorant doesn't mean I don't like Counter-Strike. But a lot of people don't agree with that idea, where they become tribalistic towards one game and think that every single person who plays the other game is fundamentally a bad person because they played that one game. And this idea of tribalism is something that I have seen in gaming communities forever, but has become more and more of a prevalent issue in recent years. And I think out of every game I've seen, tribalism towards Counter-Strike is one of the most prominent examples of this idea across all games. Where over the last decade of playing Counter-Strike, I have seen a lot of hate towards people who play Overwatch, and Call of Duty, and Team Fortress 2, and Halo, and literally every other first-person shooter, no matter how different or alike they are to Counter-Strike, with Valorant obviously being the biggest target in recent years. And again, this ideology is prevalent in so many gaming communities beyond Counter-Strike. Many people feel the same way within the Valorant community towards other games, especially Counter-Strike. And if you take the unfortunate time to read through any forums or subreddits or any other social media thread about any game, you'll probably find some people talking about how the game they play is so much better than some other game, and that the other game should die off and all those players should come play their game. I mean, if there is ever a week on the Guild Wars 2 subreddit where there isn't a post about how Guild Wars 2 is so much of a better game than World of Warcraft, the world is probably ending and nobody's left on the internet. But just to summarize the last minute or so of rambling, there are many people in every gaming community that hold a very strong opinion of the game they play. Such a strong opinion that they think that every game that is similar to the game they love so much is inherently a bad game, and that anyone who plays those other games are bad people. And I personally find that idea and personality to just be so sad and exhausting. People should just be allowed to enjoy the games they like. You don't have to attack other people because they play a game you don't like. And I personally think that people shouldn't devote their time to hating on a particular game and that game's fans just for the sake of it, or because they feel patriotism towards one game. That's just bullying, toxicity, and ineffective criticism. But I think this problem brings forth a huge question. Why are people like this? Well, some of these people are just internet trolls who are begging for attention because they are bored, or have a variety of personal problems going on, or making people angry on the internet brings them satisfaction and gives them a boost of dopamine, where generally, the best way to counteract the behavior of an individual like this is to completely ignore them. Most of the time, silence is more impactful than any response that you could come up with. I guess this video isn't really doing a good job in this regard. But I do think trolling does account for a good percentage of the comments you see, where a lot of people don't legitimately believe one game is better than the other. They may not even care about either game at all, they just want to make people angry. But then there's another group of people who legitimately believe one game is better than the other and feel incredibly tribalistic based on their beliefs. Where people can most definitely hold opinions about certain games and can heavily prefer one game to another. That is normal and people are entitled to those preferences, but it becomes an issue when people think a specific preference to a video game is the only preference that people can ever have. And again, why do people believe in this way? Well, I believe it loops back around to a few certain concepts, which are tribalism, herd mentality, and social pressures. Where tribalism is a term for being organized into communities based on a specific characteristic. Or to mostly pick on Counter-Strike for the rest of the video, a common characteristic for a group of people who like Counter-Strike would be liking Counter-Strike. But then we see various social issues surrounding tribalism, where when we connect it back to the topic of this video, people feel an immense amount of pride for the tribe, community, guild, clan, subreddit, Twitch chat, whatever that they feel connected to. Which again, there's nothing wrong with feeling connected with another individual or group of people. But when you harass people because of the loyalty that you feel towards that connection, that's when it becomes an issue. Because everyone has connections, and because not everyone is the same person as you, there are obviously people with different preferences that form different communities. If you like Counter-Strike, there are people who like CS and people who don't. That's normal and that's okay. I think one important idea to bring up is the promotion of tribalism that people engage in if that tribalism benefits them. Or if you look at sports teams, for example, corporations that own sports franchises want people to feel loyalty to them so that they can profit off the fans. When it comes to things like video games, I don't think a lot of this really happens. I doubt Valve is instigating Counter-Strike fanboys to scream at Valorant fanboys in Twitch chat, and I doubt Riot is doing the same, though I could always be wrong. But I think some discussion could be had about different content creators in every space. But then there's also the idea of herd mentality, where this connects heavily back to tribalism, but is its own unique thing, where herd mentality is when an individual will adopt the same beliefs as other people in a group, where perhaps someone likes playing Counter-Strike and hops onto the global offensive subreddit to see what other people are talking about in the game, and then they see all these people constantly trashing Valorant, where they then feel like Valorant is a bad game and they need to trash it because they see all these other people trashing on the game. And then they form the opinion and belief that Valorant is not a good game, despite not knowing anything about it. This ties into the concept of social pressures as well, where certain people feel pressured to believe one thing because random people on the internet or even their friends believe that way. Maybe they don't want to be the odd one out in a rank lobby, maybe they just want to fit in, or countless other things that would lead them to feel pressured, which makes them believe a certain thing, which over time might make the belief stronger and stronger. The ideas I've just listed are a few of the ideas for why certain people may legitimately believe that everyone needs to like the same thing they do. We can look at these more in depth from a more scientific point of view, and we can also look at other ideas as well, but for brevity's sake, I'll leave it at that. But I will say, from my point of view, this entire problem is just sad. Where if you want a central takeaway for everything that I have said in this video, I would say that hating on a game just to hate on it is super cringe, and that people need to let other people enjoy the games they want. Valorant and Counter-Strike are both good games. One or the other may not suit you, but it suits other people. And just because you don't like one game doesn't mean that the people who play the other game are absolutely horrible people, should be ashamed of themselves, and should be punished because they like that game. And if you do this, why? There's always the opportunity to have valid criticism towards one game for any number of different reasons or problems you may have with that game. You obviously can discuss this in online places as well, because that is a great thing to do. People aren't criticizing a specific game. People aren't trying to make games better. People aren't partaking in discussions. They're either trying to get people mad or trying to get people to feel bad. And that's just sad. This entire video was kind of just a jumbled rant about a problem that I see in most gaming communities and is incredibly prevalent in both the Counter-Strike and Valorant communities. I definitely hope that this problem goes away in the future, as maybe certain people grow up and mature, while we also see a shift in general societal beliefs. Though I doubt I'll ever see this happen. I hope all of you are taking good care of yourselves. Please be nice to other people, and have a good one.